welcome to our virtual parent meeting. Obviously, COVID just continues to throw us some curveballs here, and we have to find ways to be creative, get the information out, and make sure everyone is all on the same page. So typically on back to school night, you guys start with us with a parent meeting. We kind of go over some changes in the handbook, important things to note, and then we turn you over to go see your child's teacher. This year we're having our virtual meeting here, and then you guys have signed up for 15-minute slots to see your child's teacher this afternoon between 4 and 6. If you haven't signed up for a slot, you are still welcome to come by, give the school a call, and see what times are still available. Most of them still are. We're just trying to make sure we're not too crowded when we get there. Depending on what location you are in, you will be asked to go in one door, go through the hallways, and as much as possible, go out a different door. So Olathe, you'll go in the front door, go to your child's classroom. You'll go to the first classroom first if you have multiple kids, and then as you make your way down the hallway, go to your second classroom or third if needed, and then you will actually exit out the playground, and the staff will be there to help kind of guide you through that. At South, we will go to the right, do a complete circle through the building to get to your classroom, and then we will come out the same door. We don't have a second door to come out of, but we are going to be making a loop around the building. So even if your child's classroom is directly to the right, when you come in, you're going to go in and walk all the way around. In KCK, you're going to come in the door that is to your right, where we normally have kids come in. You'll go around kind of that U shape, and you'll come out the doors on the left. So everybody does have a standard of how they're going to be doing that. So please focus on what the staff are telling you in terms of where we're asking everybody to go. At the 15-minute mark, we are going to be coming around and asking everyone to go ahead and make their way to either their next classroom if they've signed up for a second time, or to make their way out of the building so that the next group of people can come in. I know that's not ideal. Typically, we like to hang out and talk for long periods of time, and we would love to do that this year, but of course, COVID does not allow for gatherings of that size. A little update on me. I am currently 7 months pregnant. Last week, I guess I went just too much working, I don't know, but I ended up in the hospital last week because my blood pressure is too high, and that is something that we are trying to manage. It's not really cooperating, so they have put me on a fairly strict bed rest. So for the last 2 weeks, emails you've gotten from me, from home, and that is where I will be for the next couple of months until the baby is born. So with that understanding, I know we've talked earlier about some changes in our chain of command. And we started to put those things into place because we knew obviously there would at least be a maternity leave. I didn't necessarily expect to be gone long enough for your kids to forget who I am, but that's something I guess I'll have to deal with when we get back. But I'm still executive director. Krista, though, is taking over as regional director. So she would be the one kind of going from location to location and ensuring that everything is running smoothly. So she'll kind of be the new me. And then your directors are obviously in charge of each location as they were before. So Courtney is over South. Brandy is officially over Olathe. And then Miss Garland is over KCK. And then you have assistant directors and closing managers at those locations as well. When you are needing information, questions, or anything like that, go ahead and email the actual school. So email Olathe at Open Minds if you have a question, or email KCK at Open Minds, or Olathe South at Open Minds. That will help us to all get the information at the same time, and then someone will be able to respond. If you just email it to me, or just to Krista, or just to Courtney, sometimes those emails get buried, and or that particular person maybe just swamped that day, or or even out on vacation. So we want to make sure that those emails get answered. If it's something that you specifically do want to talk to just one person about, that's fine. Just know that sometimes there may be a little bit of a delay with that. So if it's something that anybody can help you with, then please use that general email. That way we can get back to you a little bit faster. I'm going to have Abdul share my little wizard back here on the back end. I'm going to have him share our handbook. We've updated our handbook a little bit with our COVID edition is what we're calling it. So each building has a slightly different handbook. So you'll be given a copy either when you come tonight or when you come over the next week or so. So make sure you ask for a copy. If you don't have a copy, we'll work to get copies put onto the website and everything like that. But by all means, make sure you grab a copy, a hard copy to keep and read whenever you need it. The first couple of pages just talk about our line of authority. Every building has a slightly different one depending on directors and assistant directors. So, and all of their contact information, it can be found there. Our curriculum page, nothing's changed about our curriculum. We are still using high scope. We are still doing home-like environment. That could change as we go through COVID if things become necessary to remove. As of now, we really haven't had to remove much. We've been able to sanitize and clean everything that we have in the classrooms, and the teachers have been able to keep up with that since March. So we haven't had to make a lot of changes in that area, but should we have to, just know that we will. We reserve the right to do that. We're hoping not to change it too much. We want to try to keep it as normal as possible for the kids. We will still do our assessments this year. I think we do them in October and then again in February or March, depending on the year. We will still definitely do those this year. We're still going to be using the Core Advantage, what you got last year. And we also we'll have to probably do those over Zoom. Everything that we have scheduled this year, we have brainstormed some ways to bring those to you virtually. So that's another thing that will be virtual this year. And we just feel like if we plan for virtual, it will be a little bit easier. Over the last couple of months, trying to scramble to change those things at the last minute are a little bit more challenging. So plan to have a Zoom conference with your child's teacher. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Zoom actually has made me even more productive because I can make it to multiple meetings within a short amount of time. So that may be something that we've stumbled upon that might be helpful. Our curriculum enhancements, they are still on hold. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit nervous about bringing in specials where the staff have been to multiple different centers or schools and then bringing them into our location. They would be required to wear masks and everything like that. I will definitely entertain some conversation about that. Be sure and just send me some emails. I know that the kids love some of these programs, and I know they're missing them. The programs are missing us as well. I just want to make sure that we limit as much as possible our exposure. COVID's pretty rampant in the community, of course, and we are unfortunately probably going to have our share eventually of situations, but I just don't want to add any more possible people into the building that could create yet another COVID scenario. So definitely, if you feel strongly about it one way or the other, shoot me an email. I'm just listening at this point, getting some points of view. I have not invited anyone back in yet, and if anything changes, I will definitely give updates. Enrolling, and all of that has not changed. Registration and all of those things are still the same. So I will say that there's been a lot of COVID babies, a lot of quarantine babies that have been to the wait list in the last couple of weeks. So if you are on that list and maybe you just haven't told us yet, then by all means, get that information to us. You can send that directly to myself or to Krista if you don't want anyone else to know just yet. But we are definitely, the spring is pretty tight already with lots of babies that will be born in the next few months. So, mostly your opportunities for involvement this year are going to be contributing to some of the events that we're having in the center, but they are still going to be done virtually in terms of parents actually attending. If you have an interest in helping to host one of these virtual activities this year, by all means, let us know. We are looking for creative ways to make this happen for everyone. If you have some ideas that maybe we can spice it up or change some things, we are definitely interested in that, and that's something that the PTA will hopefully be able to help us with as well. The days that we are closed haven't changed, same days that we're typically closed. This year, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are on a Thursday and a Friday. So keeping in mind that we're typically closed for a week, we're going to be closed that Thursday and Friday, and then we will be closed the following full week because then we get into New Year's Eve and New Year's Day on Thursday and Friday of the following week. So that will be Thursday and Friday of the first week and then the full week after that. And then our staff development days are listed here for you. The schools have not only a handbook, but also a full calendar for you to pick up today or whenever you come back to the center. So no worries to try to write all this down. It is there in writing for you. When your child is sick, this is probably our biggest, well, we'll get to the COVID edition of this, but ultimately, fever, diarrhea, all those things are still things that we're looking for. COVID scares everybody because it has the symptoms of everything that we are even used to seeing on a regular basis. So we are trying to be understanding that kids still get normal childhood things too. So some changes as we go through here in just a little bit, you'll see we've made some allowances so that parents don't have to miss weeks and weeks of work for what might be an ear infection or something like that. Our tuition rates for 2020 are, I have tuition rates next, sorry. Our tuition rates are, no? Okay, well, we'll follow yours, go ahead. Okay. So we came up with a color-coded little chart here that helps to understand what exactly we're looking for, how much of it, when can your child come back, all of those types of things. So primary symptoms of COVID are going to be considered cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, and a new loss of taste or smell. Secondary symptoms for this chart are going to be nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea, fatigue, or muscle aches, fever, chills, headache, sore throat, congestion, or runny nose. Now, this information is not our information. This is exactly what the health department has sent down to us and what their recommendations and requirements are. We just took that information and put it into a nice little flow chart so that we can all keep up because there's a lot of variables. So if your child is not experiencing any symptoms, then they're in the green for the day, or if they have not been within 6 feet of a person that is positive in the last 10 days, then they are in the green. They are welcome to come, no restrictions, nothing else is required. If they are experiencing one of the secondary symptoms, but no primary symptoms, and they haven't been within 6 feet of anyone that has been positive, then they just need to be 24 hours symptom free. Now, originally we were saying 72 hours across the board, no matter what. But obviously, like I said, kids are still going to get typical childhood viruses and illnesses. So the health department feels that it's a bit excessive to have them stay out for 72 hours if it's just a minor bug, and we've seen some of that lately. So we're going to follow their recommendation and allow everyone that 24 hours after the symptoms subside. So our question to you will be, when did the symptoms stop? And then we will go forward from there 24 hours. So we will at least need to have a day in between those symptoms stopping completely and your child feeling better before they return. We get into the red zone if your child has two secondary symptoms or one primary symptom and still has not been near someone that is positive. When we get into the red, that's when they are to be excluded for actually 10 days after the symptoms subside, and they still need to be 24 hours fever-free without medication. And whatever those symptoms initially were, they need to have improved. Or they can be tested for COVID, and if that test is negative and their symptoms have resolved, then we can go back to the 24-hour rule. Or you can take them into the doctor. The doctor can confirm that there's something totally different going on that is not COVID and bring us that notification, and then they would need to still be fever-free, symptom-free for that 24-hour period. So it does give a little bit of flexibility if your child is having multiple symptoms, but it is an ear infection or something like that. Once the fever subsides, then you're not stuck with the 72 hours once your child is feeling better. But we will require that doctor's note. That's not something we can go back on or anything like that. That's what the health department is saying needs to be done, so that is what we're going to do. Our tuition rates for 2020 are listed here. You guys have been amazing sticking with us this whole COVID season. We know lots of centers that are struggling with enrollment, and we're just not in that boat. And so we are really grateful for you guys' support. So this year, we are not going to be raising our tuition. So as you go through, normally in January, you get a letter, we talk about that. This year, we are not going to be doing that as our way of saying thank you for sticking with us. We are in the process of switching to Brightwheel, and Brightwheel will help us with tuition payments. It'll be our daily sheet. It will also be a way of communicating with your teacher, so you'll be able to message back and forth with them in kind of one app. We're hoping it consolidates everything. You'll check in and out on that app. Lots of things that will happen. So our goal is Monday to switch completely over to Brightwheel. If you have not signed up for Brightwheel, you're having any trouble with Brightwheel, please email us, let us know. We'll try to get that, or email Abdul, he's pointing to himself, email Abdul and let him know so that we can get that fixed for you ASAP. Starting on Monday, that is where you will find pictures of your child and their information. You can also put in your credit card information, checking account information, or whatever you are planning to use for your tuition, and you will pay tuition through the Brightwheel app instead of through Tuition Express like we were doing before. It will still be set up on automatic and everything like that, but you do have to go in and put in your credit card or checking account information. It does not switch over from Tadpoles, and I cannot just go in and put it for you. That is something that you have to do on your own. It will send you statements as reminders that tuition payments are coming up. So you'll get a chance to see that, in a couple of days your tuition payment is due, and then you'll know that that automatic payment is going to be coming out soon. You can go on and pay with your FSA card or anything like that. So it should give a lot of flexibility for families to pay however they want to pay. Families that split the tuition can also split tuition on there as well, pay half with one parent, half with a different parent, maybe the grandparents are helping or whoever. So lots of options, lots of flexibility with this program. You can also get your receipts from there, your end of the year tax return, or tax forms, if I remember that correctly as well. So it should give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom to see what's happening in the center and do it all in one place. There is a QR code that we will have that you will scan, and that will ask you some health questions about your child and about your home in terms of COVID. And then once those questions are answered, then you will check your child in. So this will be a little bit different, but it'll give us a chance to make sure we capture that, make sure we ask those questions every day. I do appreciate everyone has been very communicative of anything that they have encountered over the last few months. Anytime the kids have even had, so much as a cough or a cold, a lot of families have just stayed home just to be on the safe side. And I appreciate that, because that tells me that we have built a community, and that as a community, you guys are looking out for each other. So we want to make sure that we do our due diligence and keep everyone safe. We appreciate that. We just ended our summer discovery program. We'll visit that again next year. Definitely see what COVID, throws us by January, and we'll update that as we go along. Our communication policy, our smoking policy, those things are the same. We don't allow smoking within 500 feet of our building. Our discipline policy has not changed. It is the same. We start with modeling and redirecting. We do take a break if we need to. And then if we get to a point where a family is just not maybe working with us, or the behaviors are too dangerous to be in the program, suspension or expulsion is an option. I would say less than 5 children have ever been expelled from our program. Typically, we are able to work through a lot of things. We bring in a lot of interventions, but it definitely has a lot to do with the parents and how engaged and supportive they are. So if we get to that point, we'll be asking you to have some conversations. Definitely engage with us so we can keep going and make sure that we create a good environment for your child. Our inclement weather policy is the same. We will try to follow Olathe School District. I think this might get a little bit challenging this year with the back and forth of whether the kids are in school or whether they're not in school and things like that. So we will do our best to consider them when we are trying to figure out road conditions and things like that. Meals are the same, and recess is the same. Our breastfeeding policy is also the same. With the exception that parents at this particular point in time may struggle to come in and breastfeed throughout the day. We have opened up the building for 9:30 to 2:30 for parents to come. If a lunch break breastfeeding session happens during that time and that's when you want to come, then you're welcome to do that. We do require face masks, temperatures, hand sanitizing when we walk in the door, and then we actually ask visitors to also wear booties just to make sure that anything that they may have walked in outside, they don't drag into the building. Immunizations are required in our care. We do definitely respect everyone's decision to immunize or to not immunize. That's just not something that we are able to support in the building. If you have new updated copies of your child's immunization, please bring them with you this evening or email them, whatever you need to do to get those to us so that we have an updated record. We have welcomed some new staff in the last couple of weeks. We're excited about a lot of these new teachers that we have on board. We are always looking for highly qualified teachers that have education and experience. We have been able to hire a few additional teachers that have degrees, and so we love to be able to do that. Our teachers that have been with us for a while are looping with some of their students this year, and they're very excited to stay with those families and to stay with the students that they've had over the last 6 months to a year. So we are doing our best to provide some continuity, some consistency. If you have any questions about that, let us know. Everyone should have received a supply list specific to the beginning of the school year. If you don't have one, or you start later in the year and you're listening to this 3 months from now, then the supply list listed here in your handbook is going to be where you go. Oh, potty training is a good one. We're gonna stop here and talk about potty training for just a second. I think we have had some different situations happening with potty training, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page. We love to potty train. We start sitting the kids on the potty in our programs around 12 months. Once they move over to the toddlers and they are one and walking, they can start to sit on the potty. That does not mean that we're trying to potty train for you. We don't want to take that job away from you, but we want to start to introduce that concept while they're young enough to think it's fun and exciting. One thing about potty training is it's not something you can force. So if they get older and they decide that they actually don't enjoy going to the potty, it is definitely an uphill battle that typically involves bribing or something like that. So we like to start potty training early. We do not allow pull-ups in the building in our program. So pull-ups are just a different diaper. Totally understand that. The reason we don't allow pull-ups, well, several reasons we don't allow pull-ups, is number one, most of the time they are very challenging to get off, and it requires a full clothing removal, shoes, and everything like that to get the child undressed and cleaned up, especially if it happens to be a pretty messy one. It can be pretty cumbersome to clean up. If you think about that times 10, you've got 10 kids waiting for a diaper. It can take up your whole day. That's kind of become a challenge if you're trying to get outside or you're trying to move on to your curriculum activities. The other piece of that is that it really is not potty training. It doesn't teach them to pull their pants up and down any more than anything else. It's not the next step to potty training by any stretch of the imagination. So we do diapers. And we do underwear, and you are welcome to do either of those. We can teach them to take their diaper off. They can be taught to just pull those little tabs just simply as anything else. They can still pull their shorts or pants or dresses or skirts or whatever up and down as needed. And then when you're ready for underwear, we're ready for underwear. We just kind of go straight for it. We rip the Band-Aid off. If we're potty training, we're potty training. I know that pull-ups oftentimes control the mess a little bit more, but unfortunately, potty training is messy. And that is just not something you can avoid. Whether they're 2, 3, 4, or whenever you decide to potty train, they're still going to be the mess. So I just want to make sure that everyone hears me at the same time and that we're all on the same page with that pull-ups are not allowed. These last couple of pages just kind of go through if it's your first day and what that routine looks like. As of right now, a lot of the routines look a little bit different. We are doing the curbside drop off and pickup. We're doing the temperature checks at the door. With Bright Wheel starting, you'll have a little questionnaire to fill out. It won't be long. I don't want to overwhelm you or make that sound intimidating. Just a few questions to make sure that you haven't had any exposure in the last 24 hours. So we can be aware. That may be a little bit harder, but families are definitely working to find routines with their children when they are dropping off and picking up. If it's away through the window after they get to the classroom or whatever needs to happen, we're happy to help you with that and give some ideas on how that can be done if you or your child are struggling. We've had a lot of new families join us during this COVID time, and I admire the strength of being able to do that because I know it's hard to drop your kiddo off at the door and not know kind of how that drop-off situation went. So far, the kids have been doing great, and we have been having honest conversations about how it's going. So feel free to call, email, hop on the Zoom calls or anything like that to see how your kid's doing in the classroom. We will continue with the Zoom once a week so that you can join the classroom this year. That's just going to be our best way right now to get everybody a glimpse into the classroom since they can't come back inside. I am hoping that once we see some decline in numbers and things like that, that we will eventually be able to go back to parents picking up, dropping off inside the building. But for now, with 100 kids in the building every day, 200, another 100 or 2 parents coming through the door just is a lot of liability or risk in terms of COVID and everything like that. That is the end of my spiel. I didn't see any questions pop up in the chat or anything like that. a lot of faces that have been around for a while on the call right now. But if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to go ahead and email us afterwards. We won't hold anybody up. What is the policy
for COVID cases at home or in classroom?
Okay, so yes, I actually had a call yesterday with the health department just to make sure I understood correctly what they were suggesting. So, the, they are going kind of a point of contact to determine whether we've been exposed or not. So, if someone is positive, if a parent is positive, and just one of the parents or whatever, and they will have to keep their children home for 10 to 14 days. Really kind of depends on the timing of it and when they started having symptoms and all of that stuff. But 10 days at the minimum, 14 days. I won't say max, just in case they have symptoms that last longer, but at least 10 days. And they will quarantine at home with their child. That's their family. That child will stay home. They will then only consider us at risk if the child tests positive, not necessarily that the parent tested positive. So we're wearing our mask, and that's part of how we're making sure that that our interactions with parents aren't putting us at additional risk. But once the child is then determined to be positive, then that would be considered a potential risk for us. Now, they've given us two options. It used to be that we had to close for 14 days or whatever the case was, but now they're saying that the classroom can cohort together, meaning that they stay in their classroom with their teachers, that they're the only ones on the playground. If they go out and different things like that, they eat in their classroom and everything like that. We're already doing those things, though. We've been doing that since March. I think the only thing that I would say we haven't been doing is that if the teachers take a lunch break, somebody else does have to come into the classroom. So that's kind of going to get to be something that we'll take under advisement if we get to that point where we have a child that is positive. At this particular point in time, what we're doing, she told us that that is exactly what she would recommend, and their feeling is that the mask that the teachers are wearing, the mask that we have the older kids wearing, has greatly reduced our risk, and the fact that we aren't mixing the classrooms has greatly reduced our risk. So that was my last call with her. I just called her to make sure I understood all of the new policies that they had put out, and that was her description, definition, explanation of all of that. I can't see the questions, babe.
Will there be school supply lists provided this evening for the school ages that are starting at the south location this fall?
Yes, actually, I sent them out. I sent out an email the other day, and if you didn't get it, I can forward it to you. That just talked about the school supply list. Really, we're just going to go with the school supply list that they sent out, because obviously, if we're going to be doing online classes, then whatever teacher your child has would want to have those particular materials. So go with that school supply list. There are a couple things that we might need, but we are going to go ahead and grab those things so that they can be organized.
I noticed closing hours are listed at 5:30. If we get out of COVID times, would the plan be to go back to 6 p.m.?
Yes, when and if we get out of COVID times, that is the idea. The only way that the earlier times work and the later times work is to mix classrooms, and that's the only reason why we've eliminated that extra 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, is because if we do those things, then we have to mix the kids. So we really would have to get to a point where mixing would be safe again, because once we mix a classroom, then we've contaminated the whole building if something does happen, versus having one classroom have to stay home, not all 7 or 8, depending on which building you're in. So that is the idea, yes. When that will happen, I mean, unfortunately, I'm sure just like you guys, I don't know.
Last year, we did not pay for a week of Christmas closure. Is that true for this year too?
That is true for this year. Yes, it is.
Repeat the question.
So I'm sorry. The question was, last year we didn't pay for the week of Christmas. Is that still true this year? That is true. So you will not pay for the week, the full week that we're closed. That doesn't incorporate that Christmas Eve, Christmas Day that I was talking about. That little extra 2 days, but you won't pay for the full week after. Okay. All right, I don't see any other questions popping up right now, so I won't hold you guys. I'm sure everybody's trying to have lunch or wrangle kids and work at the same time. So hopefully you guys will be able to make it this afternoon and see your classroom. We are intending to do some virtual tours up on the website, so if you are watching this months from now, then you may be going onto the website to take a virtual tour of the classrooms, so that you can get a feel for it from there. Otherwise, I miss seeing all of you guys' faces, and hopefully everybody still remembers what I look like when I come back. That's me being dramatic, but yeah. I will see you guys later. Bye.